Welcome to the Cinema 9 Podcast. That's right. It's our latest episode, the one that we will be doing right now, the one you're currently listening to. I'm Michael Govier, Cinema 9 Pod at protonmail.com. Emails are always welcome. Travis Roy, Eric Albert Brandstrom. The three of us are here. We're going to be talking about Ghost, a 1990 film selected by Travis last week, a film that we will cover in great detail later in the show. Travis, how are you, and are you excited to talk about Ghost?
It's all happening. Yes, I'm very excited to talk about Ghost. I'm excited to do this podcast and talk about movies and, you know, do the thing that has kept me going for the past year in a lot of ways. So cheers to y'all. Let's do it.
Beautifully said. Yes.
Cheers Travis with water. They say that's bad luck, but I did it anyway.
Oh, I drink water all the time on this show. Here, I'll join you.
Get musical.
Delicious. We welcome you guys to the show. And Eric Brandstrom, how about this? Well, how are you?
Dead air.
I'm excited to be here.
That's bullshit. Why didn't it work? That's a bunch of shit. I'm pissed. There's no reason why it shouldn't have worked. Let me try it again.
Hey, there we go.
All right, we'll save it for later. Eric, how you doing?
I'm feeling very tender tonight. Love Bill Medley.
You know, it was produced by a man who murdered someone and then died recently.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, Phil Spector. Yeah,
the Wall of Sound.
Yeah.
Wall of Sound.
How you feeling, Eric? Are you sick? Are you better?
Yeah, are you
How's
normal
your health?
again?
I'm 100%. I'm feeling great.
All right.
Hey, all right. Woohoo!
We're all very excited.
I'm really
over
happy
here
for you,
tonight.
man. You deserve that.
One
This is a
out of
special
4
moment.
episodes where Eric is healthy. All right.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow I'm getting my second shot. I'm very excited. I'll get to rejoin society soon. I'm starting to look forward to it and imagine what it's like to talk to people face to face. And I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm going to appreciate people more. And I know that may probably a cheesy line at this point. Most people are saying, you know, I'm going to appreciate people more because I've been so isolated. But it's true.
I mean, the CDC announced today that, you know, vaccinated people don't have to wear masks indoors or in public anymore. And this is huge news. Let the orgies and karaoke nights resume. It's big time. I'm excited.
Because that's what we did.
Yeah, well, one of those things. Yeah, who's doing this?
Start the orgy. I thought you were talking about the orgy. All right, yeah, so we're going to talk about Ghost. Does it hold up or not? Special thanks to Steve Paulo last week. He did a great job on the show. We had a really solid show with Steve and got some good feedback, so thank you, Steve, for that. Of course, we would like you guys to possibly rate the show 5 stars. Now, we don't like to harp on it too much, but, you know, Apple Podcasts has the ability for you to give us a 5-star review, and if you do so, there's not really much we can offer you in return except our gratitude and thanks, so consider taking the time to do that. But before we get into our quarantine viewing picks, we do have an email. So let me get off on the... Yes, this is a real email. This was not even solicited. This is a legitimate email.
I mean, we asked nicely for people not to send emails. I don't know who this person is, but I'll entertain it. Let's hear it.
So I'm checking... this is from chudpud@gmail.com. I'm not kidding. So I'm checking out your Get Shorty podcast, and I have to take umbrage with you sick fucks. You've Got Mail is not a cute romantic comedy you should come away feeling good about. It's a goddamn psychological horror about a man stalking, manipulating, and gaslighting a vulnerable woman. That psycho used information gained from those emails to get to know her and manipulated their relationship to a position he wanted. Crazy town fuckery. This is not acceptable. His name, Joe Fox, should have rang some bells, but nope, nobody noticed but me. Terrifying. Kat Kelly in a sequel is trying to escape an abusive relationship, or she's already dead, and Joe Fox is manipulating the police investigation of her disappearance. There it is. Thank you, Chud Pud. Some fair points there. And I wanted to cover some of that, but I felt kind of rushed because we had Steve on, and I didn't want to take too long on the reviews of my films. But I did definitely notice that in the film.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it's one of those things from that movie that people kind of recognize now, but you go back and watch A Shop Around the Corner and the same thing takes place with Jimmy Stewart. So like there's, not to excuse it, but like this is an integral part of that story is the deception on the part of the man, which maybe that means there won't be this movie being remade into like a ninth time, because it's been like a play, it's been a book, it's been like a movie, like it's been multiple things. So maybe that is the death knell of that particular run.
I love You've Got Mail. I watch it every year during Christmas, and Kathleen Kelly, as portrayed beautifully by Meg Ryan, is completely complicit in this cyber relationship from the get-go. So I don't know what this I appreciate the email, but I don't see the point at all.
The point comes in the movie where Joe Fox he knows something that she doesn't. Like she, like it's all even, and then he learns something. And
her and Chappelle looking in the window, they find out it's her.
Exactly. And he uses that to his advantage. But I mean, like he also kind of like sets it up so that she has a choice too, I think, in a way. Like or at least he wants to like make sure that she likes him as a friend, as a person. I don't know, you can't really excuse it necessarily, as it is deceptive, but like it's also, fucking 90s rom-com. So like, my standards are low.
Yes, they are. I wish we had a woman on the show that could give us a woman's point of view on this, really. Because in the end, we're all... If only, yes. We have had women on the show. We will continue to have women on the show, but we don't have one today, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I agree with Chud Pud. I think it really did kind of get ridiculous, but it is dated, and not just for the AOL shit. It's dated because maybe, gaslighting somebody like that isn't cool, but maybe Eric's point's valid. There's some complicity. We all have to take responsibility for our individual actions.
I disagree that we are sick fucks, but I also wonder if Chud Pud has caught the film Top Gun.
It's all about intent, man. What is Joe Fox's intent? You tell me right now. Is it to have a loving relationship with a beautiful woman and also own the biggest book conglomerate in New York City? Or is it just for him to have this, nebulous affair and take advantage of a young lady whose job is on the line? We may never know, thanks to the great Nora Ephron. Took it to the grave.
Maybe they should have just listened to this song and everything would have gone great. Okay, thanks, Chud Pud, for the email. Anybody else wants to email the show, cinema9pod at protonmail.com. Always welcome, and we will read them on the air and discuss. No, that's right. No, we don't want emails.
You don't email us.
We'll give you the email address, but please don't email us. Yes, thank you. All right, well, let's get to the quarantine viewing picks. We're still in a quarantine, even though the vaccine is taking over the country, ravaging this country and the world, hopefully. Travis Roy got it.
Bill Maher just announced. Bill Maher, guys, hey, has got the COVID.
Hey, good for Bill Maher. Wow, great. Yeah. So what have you been watching?
I watched a lot of older movies because I was visiting with my mother and stepfather over the past week, and they're in their upper 60s, so they're like some older films. So actually, the most recent film I watched this week was Twister from 1996, which I also live tweeted. Which I got 20 likes on that live tweeting session, which I feel like that means I went viral. So that was exciting.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Twister, PSH, kind of scummy, but kind of, and like that. Yeah, but it was, there's only so many movies left that I haven't seen of his. So it's cool to like parse, to separate them and only so often go back and watch the only remaining few. There's only I don't know, one or two at this point. So it's kind of nice for that, if nothing else.
That's why I watched it last week. I was just trying to finish off PSH movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Jamie Gertz in the windstorm. What more can you ask for?
Gorgeous woman.
Yeah, she is gorgeous. It's true. But I watched a couple Hitchcock films. I watched Shadow of a Doubt, which was supposedly his favorite film. Didn't really do it for me. I mean, as far as Hitchcock movies go, I mean, it was okay. But I also watched Strangers on a Train, which was fucking awesome. I'd never seen that before, but
get off my train.
Get off my train. We're gonna do that a lot. But Robert Walker was a fucking awesome genius of an actor, and weirdly enough, we watched like Perry Mason and all this other stuff. Like his sons kept popping up in throughout the rest of the week, so it was very much a Walker family viewing experience for me over the past week. Oh. I also watched, now I've seen. I did not watch The Stuff from 1985, which stars Michael Moriarty and is written and directed by Larry Cohen. I mentioned that before on the show. I watched the film that they did together before that. I watched Q, The Winged Serpent from 1982, also starring Richard Roundtree and David Carradine. And Eric, have you seen this movie?
No, I've heard things.
It's well worth checking out, man. Like, I mean, for one, Michael Moriarty, like, I mean, he did a bunch of stuff, most of which was like whatever. But when he's in a Larry Cohen movie, the man just shines. I mean, I don't know what it is in both these movies, man. Just fucking like, he could have been a huge star if every movie he did had been written and directed by Larry Cohen. But the plot of this movie is that like Quetzalcoatl, the flying dragon god of the Aztecs, has returned and is killing people in New York City willy-nilly. And rather than getting like animal control on that, it's up to a couple detectives to like shoot it. It's all done with a claymation. It looks like, you know, Gohira or something. It looks like garbage, but it is fucking awesome. I really enjoyed it. So,
like the only thing, Travis, like the only like fun fact I know about that film is like they totally blew the special effects because like they were supposed to like do the claymation of the dragon and then shoot the plates for like the city so that it would match up to when the dragon's flying around. For some reason, they did it opposite, and they like found it out. They found that out like in post production, and like nothing matched up, and like everyone was pissed and fired.
Oh yeah, the special effects are like less than special, which is kind of adds to its charm, to be honest. Because it's like these terrible special effects, but like all the actors are kind of like bringing it, so kind of like it's like really like uneven, but in a fun way. And last but not least, a movie I've watched several times in my life, but it had been a while. I watched Network from 1976, and you know that movie absolutely, you know, if you know, you know, it's a fucking genius, a fantastic movie that's only gains relevancy as time goes on. But you know, I've always thought of it as like this heavy and dramatic film, and it is, but like I forget how fucking hilarious that movie is. I was laughing my ass off through this whole movie. The movie's so funny. Like I just forgot. Like, yeah. I mean, it is like like there's, you know, there's all kinds of like, you know, stuff put in there, but like, man, it's almost more of a comedy than it is a drama, really.
It is. It's satirical comedy for sure.
Yeah, I think I kind of like in my mind, I'd really categorize it much as a drama for most of the time. Because I mean, there's some
borderline, almost perfect movie because it does everything so well. It's borderline.
Dude,
for me,
right.
It is. Yeah,
you're right. It's a borderline perfect movie. It's one of the best movies, and there's a reason why people are still watching it, you know, 44 years later.
You named all the reasons why. It's funny, it's serious, great acting, it's still
relevant.
It's just it's hard to find holes.
Fucking genius. Love it. So that's it. That's what I watched. Oh, and I also watched I Remember Mama from 1948, I think. And I watched that on Mother's Day with my mother. So
is that the oldest movie anyone's ever shared on this podcast so far?
Shadow of a Doubt was 1943.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Well, that's the current leader in the clubhouse. Great.
I think so.
All right, Eric Brandstrom, Griffith, Indiana. What have you been watching with the kiddo?
So I took a look at this film from 1993. Now, I told you I started this up and the credits start coming on. And the screenwriters, get this, Aaron Sorkin and Scott Frank team up. And we're talking about one of the, like, two of the greatest screenwriters of the 90s, right? Both Oscar winner legends. And they write the script for Malice from 1993. Have you ever seen this movie?
God.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin.
I'm sitting there watching this, and it's so preposterous that I'm like, I can't take it anymore. I get out a pen and paper. I'm trying to put together this fucking plot because it's out of control. This is what I have. A prominent surgeon played by Alec Baldwin conspires a malpractice case wherein he and Nicole Kidman, who's cheating on Bill Pullman, both agree to have him surgically remove her ovaries while she is pregnant, which results in a malpractice case that settles for $10 million. The whole plot would have been worked out were it not for it being uncovered that Bill Pullman was sterile and could not have fathered children. How do we know he's sterile? Well, there's a serial killer plot that's introduced in the opening half hour of the film, and one of the victims is Bill Pullman's student, and naturally, Bill Pullman's accused of being the killer, and his DNA swapped to determine that he's infertile. Ludicrous story told incompetently by director Harold Becker. I don't know how this movie got made. It's bonkers.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Michael, this next one I checked out for you. Freeway, starring Reese Witherspoon and Kiefer Sutherland.
Of course.
I'd never seen the movie before. I always saw that cover box, you know that cover box where she's like the red and then Kiefer Sutherland. I gave it I had to turn it off. It was so abrasive. I could not handle it. It's out of control, dude. I don't know how people watch this movie.
You know, like the Red Riding Hood parable thing going on there? It's, you know.
I mean, that, but then like
Kiefer Sutherland just wound up and let go, man. I mean,
I don't understand what these filmmakers were. What is this movie?
This is perfect 90s stuff, man. This is to the limit. HBO films, they can do whatever they want. You know, it's,
I haven't watched it in many years. I'm gonna have to see if it holds up, I guess.
See if you can handle the.
It's gross. There's some gross shit going on. Even Kiefer is gross in that movie because he gets fucked up, and he's gross for many reasons. That film, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, just horrible big film. So, Mike and Travis, you guys have been talking about Moneyball on like every single episode.
Fuck, I have.
That's fucking Brancham Hyperbole 101. Sure, I've seen it.
I barely remember that movie. I've seen it once. I don't talk about that movie.
Mike, you bring it up quite a bit, my friend. So I decided to sit down and watch it. Dude, I don't understand this movie. Like I don't care about baseball, so I'm like, all right, well, at least I heard that this, like, even if you don't like sports, you can get into this. It's so boring, Mike. Like, what? Like how is this a movie? This story is like, it's so slow. It's like, if you had like, I'm thinking about while watching it, and I love Bennett Miller. If you had like Cameron Crowe like directing the same exact script, it would not have this funereal pace that I just could not handle. I turned it off, like I said, like 5 minutes before it ended. I didn't even care how it ended. I was so fucking bored. What is this? Why is this a movie?
If you've heard me on the show talk about it, I say that it's very overrated. I don't understand why it gets a lot of love that it does. And fucking Jonah Hill was nominated. Absurd.
Jonah Hill sits there with the same blank, vacant expression on his face for the full 3 hours and 50 minutes and gets an Oscar nomination?
I know. I'm with you. I mean, it's barely entertaining enough for a guy like me who loves baseball. So
I did check back in with Capote because I had to remember how great this filmmaker is. Gorgeous movie, so beautifully told and performed by Phil Hoffman. It's still wonderful in my opinion. It's a fucking fantastic character study.
I need to go back and see that one. I haven't seen that one in a while. I've seen it for sure.
Yeah, I mean the atmosphere of that picture regulates itself to this atmosphere. But Christ, Moneyball, what the fuck? It's like I don't understand it. Deary, chime in. What the hell is this movie?
Sounds like I'm going to have to revisit Moneyball and weigh in on it, I guess. Because I mean, I just saw it once when it came out, but I do recall it being kind of tedious.
The entire movie is like a 3-hour PowerPoint presentation on like this season of baseball.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
It's probably a better book, to be honest with you. They're written by Michael Lewis, who's an excellent investigative like journalist, writer who's written books about Wall Street and whatever he feels like writing about. I bet the book is better. I truly do believe that.
There you go, Mike. What about you?
Oh, here's Christopher Deary. Sabermetrics. That means nothing to these guys. And then,
no,
yes, it's overrated.
Oh,
Even Deary says it's overrated. Thank you, Deary.
Right.
There you go. Deary loves
Bottom
baseball.
line.
All right.
So, all right.
It's
I'm gonna
no
get to
Mr. Baseball. Right? Okay, sorry.
But I want to say this. No, I want to get this one first. Have you guys ever seen The Falcon and the Snowman?
No.
I actually never have. No.
Yeah. Oh shit. Okay.
Sean Penn, right?
Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton.
Hutton.
Mainly, I think Hutton's the lead, but they're both neck and neck. Basically, it would be splitting hairs, I guess, to break it down. Pat Hingle is in it, and
why was I told about this?
I know. Who's in charge here? It was a good movie.
Be careful. Be very
1985.
careful.
1985. So, and I never saw this as a kid. It never was like on HBO growing up. It's about two guys. True story. They both, sold secrets to the Russians in Mexico. They lived in California. They go through the Tijuana border and meet up with Russian people at the embassy and sell secrets. And they were very young. They were like 23.
Assholes. I thought it was like, a couple, I don't know, like cool spies, not assholes.
They're definitely not cool, but they're young and stupid. So they got that going for them. And then, Sean Penn for the first time probably does what Sean Penn thing he does. You don't understand. You don't get it.
I don't feel loved.
When he gets that high pitched thing going, that's the first time he probably did that was in this movie. So I'm gonna recommend it. I think it's actually pretty cool. It's well done. It's not something I've ever seen. I never heard anybody really talk about it. And after I watched Breach, about the Hanson thing last week, I was like, I'm gonna check this one out. So. True story.
Yeah, John Schlesinger from the director of Marathon Man and Midnight Cowboy. Okay.
Yeah. So there's enough credentials here where it's not like how they do like the Brat Pack stuff where people get thrown in goofy movies. This is like a serious film. It's not like a joke. So I want to recommend that to all of you if you've never seen it. I saw for the first time Waking Ned Devine, an Irish film from 1998.
Yeah.
I'd never seen it.
It was a big deal when it came out. What'd you think?
I loved it. It was great.
I thought you liked it. It's about old people. Of course you love it.
What?
You love old people movies.
I hate old people, don't I?
That's not. But I don't know. You seem to like movies about old people.
That's true.
I thought that. I mean,
yeah.
Wait, did you say you hate old people?
Well, that's a strong word. I mean, I'm not a big fan of old. I don't have a lot of old people in my life, I guess.
It sounds like you need more You need some older people in your life.
I do.
Nice. They're older.
I don't have a lot of older people I can relate to. But yeah, this is about.
Well, my best friend's a 74. He's awesome. I'm not kidding.
Okay, all right. This is a movie about, a tiny little Irish village, and that's why I love it. It just looks so beautiful, and all the characters are so whimsical and fun, and it's lighthearted, and it's just a good time. So I'd strongly recommend Waking Ned Devine.
I remember stocking that on the shelves at Blockbuster Video.
Yeah,
every time I'd put it up on the case, I'd be like, why would someone watch this?
I, the 18-year-old that worked with you, watched it.
There you go. Yes, that's good news. I watched a movie that I had seen a billion times, but I hadn't seen it in a long time. The fucking Saint, Val Kilmer and God. Elizabeth Shue. This was a regular. This movie was on all the time. Like, if I was at Giles' house, he watched this movie all the time, and it was weird to go back and watch this. It was pretty bad, I gotta say.
Didn't hold up.
Enjoy it. It's so horrible. I checked it like a year ago. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my whole entire life.
Yes. It's just not nonstop chasing people around. It's literally like half the movie is just chasing these bumbling Russians who can't seem to keep up with the Saint.
The stupid voices by Val Kilmer. Same dumb disguise. So stupid.
It's
bad.
I
remember him playing an Eastern European, and then he plays like an Eastern European. Then he plays an Eastern European. I do recall that.
All he switches is the turtlenecks. It's deplorable.
Yeah, a couple of wigs, turtlenecks. Very disappointing. The reason I bring it up, and we'll never do it, Does It Holds Up, because it's not even worth doing Does It Holds Up. It sucks. So that's why I brought it up. Right. I watched Jack Goes Boating. I finally finished that, and I told you guys about that in the text. It was fascinating, interesting. Not a lot of fun necessarily, but
no, it's not fun. But I love it. I love it.
Why do you love it? Can you tell me why?
Yeah. What do I love about it? I mean, I think it's a good love story. I think it's a good story about because you're getting like two love stories at once. You're getting the slow motion collapse of one relationship and the beginning of another at the same time. And like there's like this weird power dynamic that's taking place where the friend and the male and the established relationship, it's like he's got like one up on this other guy. I'm gonna fix your life for you. I'm gonna help you. You're like this guy that needs guidance, and you've got all these emotional problems and stuff. Yeah. And he does, because he's like he's a fucking he's like some white New York guy trying to become a Rastafari. Like he's all kinds of lost. But like throughout as the movie goes on, you watch him like find himself and struggle and make an ass of himself, and like also like be okay with that. I don't know. I mean, like he learns to swim. He doesn't sink. He learns to swim. I like that movie a lot.
It just seems like there's a serious mental health issue he has that they hint at, but they don't actually talk about too.
Yeah. I mean, he does. I mean, yeah, he's got something going on. Like,
I don't know why they can't talk about it. That's all. I guess that would just like a little bit more clarity for me.
Do they need to? I mean, what kind of do you need a specific name for what he's got or something?
No, we would set the mood for me if I mean, I guess you can kind of get the assumption that he's very socially awkward,
right?
And he's uncomfortable in most social situations, feels a lot of pressure. So
he responds, like he's probably somewhere on on the spectrum, but like because like he doesn't respond very well to like even lower pressure, like any kind of stress kind of sets him off. But he's like really well intentioned. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Do you know Elon Musk is the first entertainer in history to have Asperger's?
David Byrne would like to take up take a word with that, I'm sure.
Fuck that shit, Elon Musk. Come on. I mean, good for you, but don't own it like you're the fucking master. I took umbrage with that. I just have to say. Also Dan Aykroyd. Yeah, and there's other people who we don't even know. I'm sure there's a lot more that we never even knew about. Right. So
exactly.
A bit of a stretch, whatever, for a joke.
Oh yeah, well, he's that guy. He's a guy. He likes to say things about himself.
Yeah, he does. He likes to fucking tank my crypto. You fuck! Hey! All right, I'm gonna move on. Sorry, it's not about crypto. This is about movies. I watched Four Brothers, which I hadn't seen in a long time, and I actually enjoyed it. I'm going to recommend it. It's a John Singleton directed film, too, and it's based in Detroit. So if you live in Michigan or Detroit, it's fun. It's not actually filmed in Detroit. It's actually filmed in a shitty neighborhood in Hamilton, Ontario, but it feels like Detroit for sure. So he sold it all the way. And then Most Wanted Man, finishing up the PSH movies.
What do you think of that one?
You know, I didn't really know what it was at all. I didn't do any like digging into the title or the background, and it was interesting. The fact that he does this German accent, and I kept waiting for it to falter, but I actually thought he pulled it off quite well.
Yeah, it is a Le Carré. It's based on Le Carré, right? Yeah, okay.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. I think it's pretty great. I've watched it a couple times, especially like that and In God's Pocket. Since they were like two of the last ones he did, I went through this phase where I watched the fuck out of those two movies. Basically,
I got that one. I haven't watched it, but I'm going to watch that one next.
Yeah, they're comparable in a way because they're just kind of like. I don't know. The pacing is different than I think most films in both of these movies, right? Like a Most Wanted Man, like this doesn't do things the way most movies does. Like you're just, I don't know. Like it's kind of like all over the place, but really controlled at the same time.
You're listening to the Philip Seymour Hoffman podcast.
Oh boy,
Eric Jr. been kicked out of Baird. Coming up next.
Eric has mentioned this in the text thread. He thinks we talk about PSH too much. I don't think you could talk about him enough, really. So.
Yeah, no, I'm going to talk about it more just to spite you now.
But yeah, A Most Wanted Man, I recommend it. Travis is right. It's interesting. It's definitely entertaining. It's got great actors in it, so you can't miss. Rachel McAdams and Willem Dafoe, blah, blah, blah. All right, a couple more. We'll wrap it up. I watched Kramer versus Kramer because Eric watched it. I'd never seen it.
Superb.
Never seen it. And, you know, it was all right. I wasn't really like that impressed by it, to be honest with you. And I'm a child of divorce. So you think maybe I'd really like, I wasn't, I don't know. Maybe it's dated. I don't know if it's even dated. It's just a very simple film. It's not very complex. It doesn't really dig into some of the complexities of it doesn't dig in as much as I would like it to maybe necessarily with their relationship. It kind of puts it all on the surface of their court interactions, but not enough off screen. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but that was my feeling on it. And then I'd never watched this in full. I watched Citizen Kane. I finally did it.
Wow.
I'm that guy. So.
All right.
Yeah. Well, we did Mank, right? I liked Mank, and it got me thinking about Orson Welles a lot. So I watched Citizen Kane, and then I watched a 1999 HBO movie called RKO 281, which is Liev Schreiber as Orson Welles and John fucking Malkovich as Herman Mankiewicz. And it's about the making of Citizen Kane. So I watched both of those back to back, and I really enjoyed the RKO 281. It really is in conflict with Mank and Fincher's ability to kind of bullshit reality with a couple of the movies he's made about real life issues, like The Social Network, and then Mank. If you start digging around, I question some of the things. Maybe it's supposed to be a fairy tale because it's his dad's story too. So I don't know. Like David Fincher's father wrote the story, I believe, and so maybe it's supposed to be that way. But RKO 281, Liev Schreiber is great as Orson Welles. I thought it was really well done. It's quick too. It's only an hour and 26 minutes.
William Hurst, don't you got Jimmy Cromwell in there?
Yes, great William Hurst. I love.
So what did you think of Citizen Kane? Like, you know, I find the picture kind of boring. I'm not going to come out here and say, oh yeah, it's the greatest movie of all time. I think it's a little dry.
Well, what am I supposed to do? You know,
I know
at this point. It's all been done, right? It's all been
say
said
something new about Citizen Kane, Mike, for our listeners.
There's no
provide some new insight.
Okay, well, the only thing I got that I can think of to say is this.
It says it all if you think about
it. So yeah, Citizens Kane. Cool. Citizens Kane. Fuck it. Whatever. You've never seen Citizen Kane. It's not a big deal now. It's so blown up and out of proportion. I don't know if you can even talk about it, but I just want to mention that I did watch it. And then I watched Being There, like I said, which was weird. A very, very weird movie. But
wow. You'd never seen it, right?
I'd never seen Being There. No.
Yeah. And I just watched it this past year.
You did?
Yeah. I mentioned it on the show, but it's been a while.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I liked it. You didn't care for it?
No, it's an interesting film.
You texted us, what were the filmmakers thinking? Exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark.
Oh, so this is what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I thought that meant you didn't like it.
The fucking outtakes. I mean, poor bastard. You know? The outtakes at the end cost him an Academy Award, basically. It's fucking boke. I dug into this after the fact, and he begged the producers to remove those outtakes because it takes out it takes you out of the movie because it's like this serious but funny film, but it's supposed to be about this story. And then you have these outtakes of Peter Sellers just doing the same shit over and over again. And it basically is, it's generally considered it cost him the Oscar. And he was very upset about it. So, and
I mean, I wouldn't, he certainly, I mean, it was certainly a fucking like incredible and memorable performance. He may not have gotten the Oscar for it, but I have no idea what won that year. I don't know what he was up against, but I mean, if you can look it up.
Yeah, and then in 1980 he died, so he died right after.
So which is terrible. Ordinary People that year.
Oh,
Ordinary People was the next year. It came out. Being There came out in 1979, so this would be the 1980 Oscars.
Yeah,
Kramer versus Kramer.
Was it Kramer versus Kramer? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Did Hoffman win?
Best actress was Sally Field, and why don't they show the best actor? Good, yeah, Hoffman won. Yeah. So.
Oh boy. Yeah, I've seen those both. I've seen both those movies. We've just talked about both those movies. I'm going to throw that in. Peter Sellers is terrifically better. I
yes,
think. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, Dustin Hoffman, Jack Lemmon, Al Pacino, Roy Scheider, Peter Sellers. That's quite a list. So.
Eric, I mean, I know you love Kramer versus Kramer and The Short Man, but
if it wasn't for those outtakes, I would have gave it to Peter Sellers. But
yeah, I feel bad for him that he couldn't get the producers wouldn't take it out, but whatever. It's what's done is done. But that's what I thought was weird about it. Ghost Hand 246 is on Twitch. Citizen Kane was as much a technical breakthrough as it was a narrative shakeup from the boggy standards that most Hollywood follow, like the bogged down standards. I assume that's what you're saying. Yeah,
that most Hollywood follow. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of the thing. Like it's hard for us in this time period to properly appreciate Citizen Kane or most movies from that era. I mean, like you have to try and think, approach them as you would, for what they were when they came out, but we don't really have the context necessarily for that because how many movies have been influenced by Citizen Kane now that right. So
it's ballsy too. And what he did I have a lot of respect for it. I know that much for sure. Tons of respect for it. So fuck you, Hearst. You're dead, but you're still dead. So you're not hearing this? But
I'm glad you're dead.
I'm glad you're dead. And then real quick, I watched The Thin Blue Line. It was a documentary from the 80s.
Oh my God. So fucking amazing. Errol Morris, one of the best documentaries I've ever seen in my life, Mike. Sorry.
Wow.
I love this movie.
And the music's by Philip Glass. I was like, oh, cool. So music's great in it. And I thought it was a document. I didn't think it was a documentary. I was like, oh, I've seen The Thin Red Line, so this could be like a long Malick-like drama. It was a documentary. Suddenly these people are talking to the camera, and I'm like, wait a minute. This is a documentary. It took me a couple of minutes to realize that. So, but it was good. It was very, very good. Very
really
well
breaking the fourth wall in this film.
They were. I was like, what's going on here? So there you go. The fun week of movies. Movies are a lot of fun. You guys should watch movies if you have the time. If you don't, I understand. Life is busy. Cinema9Pod at ProtonMail.com. Cinema9Pod on all your favorite social media platforms. We are here for you anytime you need us. Well, actually, we're only here for like an hour and a half every Thursday.
I mean, you can digitally, listen to us anytime you want.
That's true. You can digitally watch, listen anytime. We're all over the place. We're quite abundant.
I get a little gas from time to time.
Having said that,
okay.
Oh, my love.
It's time.
My darling.
There it is. Yep. Let the passion flow. Yeah. Love lasts forever. We're doing Ghost 1990. Does it hold up? Time to get into it. Time to make some pottery and then have sex. So,
off screen
for the most part, except for the long stretches of looking at Patrick Swayze's abs, where we admire them as we.
Yeah, but there's no sex. I mean, by the time that scene's over, he's still got his jeans on. So
there's butt grabbing and ab admiring. That's basically what you get out of that.
His hairless back, his beautiful hairless back.
You got a lot of zits too. I'm surprised.
Back.
Yeah, quite a lot of zits on that back. I was surprised at all the bumps on his back. I really noticed it. I could not notice it. I'm sorry. We're getting ahead of ourselves here, though. So let's start it off. Travis, you chose this film. 1990. This movie came out, and I'm going to say that you saw this one in the theater. Your whole family went and saw it.
I don't think we did. I don't think I saw this in theaters. No, I think that, I mean, this was definitely one. I've mentioned it before on the show. I had a family friend that would record movies for us when I was a younger kid, and this is one that just, it was the biggest movie of the year in 1990. I think, really, I mean, it was the biggest blockbuster of the year. So like, as soon as it was out on video, he had recorded it and gave it to us, and we wore it out. We wore it the fuck out, and I didn't watch it probably since that copy got thrown away or whatever. Like I probably hadn't seen that movie sometime in the 90s.
Wow. Okay, there it is. Eric Branstrom, you well, this movie rated R or PG-13? It's got to be PG-13.
Unbelievably, it's PG-13, but you got some intense scenes in there it's like a hard PG-13. But no, I remember renting remember the VHS tape? It was like white, like it was like the tape was a ghost. You remember this?
No, mine was cassette with like a wood print, that sticky thing that goes across. Yeah, that's what mine looked like.
Because everything we had was like recorded from somebody.
Yeah, some trash.
Oh. No, the actual box copy was like white, like the tape looked like it was haunted or some shit. I would rent it all the time back in the day. For some reason, I'm like 11 watching like this romantic story about a ghost. I got to be honest with you guys. I check in like every year with ghosts, so I'm excited to talk about it tonight.
All right.
Well, I don't check in with it every year, but watch this movie a billion times. The year it came out, for whenever it came out on VHS, so I didn't see it in the theater, but I watched this movie all the time, nonstop.
I mean, it had broad appeal, I guess. Sorry,
It did. You're right. It was always on too. It just seemed like it was, even if we didn't have a copy of it, it seemed like HBO or whatever streaming, cable television. It was on there a lot, and I saw this. We'll quote the shit out of this. Me and my brothers and anybody. I'd be saying, get off my train. There was another one too where I used to. There's so many things when I was watching this. I was like, oh my god, yeah, I used to say that all the time. So it's very quotable and very frightening at times too. And we can talk more about that momentarily. But
that's kind of why I wanted to do it, because like this was a movie that when it came out, it was just fucking ubiquitous, man. Like it was just constant. It was everywhere. It was the biggest movie of the year, and like for a long time, it was like, it was again like it was everywhere, like you said, and then it kind of devolved into being like just the scene, just the fucking pottery scene, and the song would be referenced, and then like at this point, like I have not heard anyone bring this movie up in any context in a really long time, other than perhaps that scene or that song. So like I basically wanted to go back and see like, was this good just for 1990, or was or because it doesn't necessarily seem to be the classic that you would think that it would be. I mean, like, at least in terms of like how people talk about it, they just talk about this one fucking scene.
That's true. And then it was terrifically well done in the Naked Gun Part 2. So they did
directed by the director's brother, David.
Yes, fucking fantastic. So bizarro, but yes. So yes, this movie is ubiquitous in a lot of ways. I think that's a good word for it. And the quote I was thinking of is Sam Wheat.
Sam Wheat.
Yeah. Sam Wheat. Yeah. And then I always used to sing, I'm ready. I do that all the time.
Yep. I definitely sang
along with that. I was an annoying child doing that. So,
Henry.
All right. Well, by the way, how about those pajamas she's wearing in bed? She wears like child's pajama, a full size.
Yeah, child's onesie. What the fuck?
That was weird. That was weird.
Oda Mae's got style, man. Don't fuck with it.
Well, whatever her name is, Rita's got style. That's true. IMDb.
Her name's Oda Mae Brown. Yeah, Rita Miller is just the one-off.
Well, she has other names in the past too, so I was just fucking around. I don't remember the previous names when they bring out the police file. But what is this movie rated on IMDb.com? Anybody care to guess?
It's in the 7 territory. I'm going to guess, maybe even 8 territory. I'm going to say 7.5.
7.5? Yeah, I'll say that too. That sounds good.
Wow, 7.1.
Okay.
So just over the 7 marker. Maybe it's not all we thought it was. But Ghost Hand says that Ghost, in my opinion, several movies within a movie. It's a romance, a murder thriller, a commentary on spirituality and afterlife, a drama, a comedy, an introspection of the self, and what it means in a metaphysical sense. God damn, that is a fucking impressive commentary.
I agree. I wrote on the top of my notes, I have supernatural thriller, comedy, romance, buddy movie, drama. I mean, there's like a bunch of stuff happening at once here.
Ghost Hand would know. Did Ghost Hand
like
create that handle before he chimed into the show, or after?
He's always Ghost Hand. Whoever Ghost Hand is, that person's always been Ghost Hand. So this was the perfect movie for Ghost Hand. Yes,
we love you, Ghost Hand.
I love a good ghost hand. Who doesn't?
Think of every possible like heist movie with like the bank scene. Every possible genre is stuffed into this one movie.
And yet it's not unwieldy. It's not more. It doesn't. Nothing's spilling over the sides and getting on the plate. It's all very compressed into the ghost sandwich.
Ghost sandwich. That's great. 74% of the critics were down with this movie. Audience score of 80. So the audience is a little ahead of the critics on this one, but that's okay. You know, I would think that this would be a little more popular with fans than the critics, but that's still a solid critical score for this. I was actually a little surprised. Let's see. Our top critics are weighing in. Here's a negative from the LA Times. Sheila Benson says, the movie's slogan is believe. Not an unreasonable request, but even those who'd be happy to comply must get past Ghost, one casting jaw dropper, a certain woolly mindedness to its script, and a production prettified to the point of stickiness. I don't even know what she's saying anymore.
Something. So there's a jaw dropper in the casting. Who's the jaw dropper in the casting? Whoopi?
Yeah, is that what she? I don't know. She's but even those who'd be happy to comply must get past Ghost's one casting jaw dropper. Yeah, I don't. Maybe that was because she did. Were they not expecting her to do what she did at the time? You know,
be less vague. I don't know.
Be less vague. Gene Siskel.
But she'd done. But she'd already. I'm sorry, but what she'd done at the time. I mean, like, hadn't she already done? I think she'd done Pink Cadillac by that point in Jumpin' Jack Flash.
Yeah,
she'd already. So she was
Burglar.
already.
Color Purple probably should have.
Color Purple. Yeah.
Academy Award nominated the year before, or winning, right? Or something. I think she was nominated the year before, right?
I don't know about that.
I know for Color Purple. I'm not sure.
85, she was definitely should have won. But
was that what it was? Color Purple was 85.
Yeah.
I thought it was a little later.
Nice. That's fantastic. Sister Act would follow right after this. Oh man, good times. Gene Siskel says the passion and poignancy of trying to communicate with the dead is well exploited here. More has never been more fetching. Gene Siskel commenting. I feel like that's just a direct, like, wow, she's hot. She's trying to make it.
Yeah.
Fetching is a really kind of classy way of being like, I'd bang.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Not a lot of mystery on that one, Gene. Good Lord. You're dead, though, so we'll let it pass. David Anson, Newsweek, top critic. A comedy, romance, and supernatural thriller rolled into one. Ghost is a zippy pastiche that somehow manages to seem fresh, even though it's built entirely out of borrowed parts.
Well, I mean, they're not necessarily wrong. I don't know which movies or plots or stories, whatever, that they're necessarily borrowing from. But I mean, a lot of this seems like kind of established ghost lore, right? Like, I mean, the way that it kind of works, you know, in terms of urban legend and like myth and stuff. And also, like, you know, like as I was watching this movie, I couldn't stop thinking about Ghost Town, that movie with Ricky Gervais, which I've watched like a dozen times for some reason. As I'm watching, I'm like, oh yeah, they really leaned heavily on Ghost in the making of that movie. But it's fine. It's fine because like it's like a zombie movie almost, like in what you're dealing with. I mean, like there's only so many ways to necessarily do this particular thing. You know, like if you got a vampire movie, there's only so many ways you can do that. And this is a ghost movie. Fuck, it's called Ghost. So of course it's borrowing some stuff.
Yeah, I think it borrows a little bit from Death Takes a Holiday and even the original Invisible Man, especially in some of those awesome, like straight horror sequences at the end when he's writing on the mirror and fucking the shit out of Tony Goldwyn.
Horror. I gotta write that on my list too. Horror.
That's true. Yeah. Good point. Right. Good point. Quickly with these, Roger Ebert said, contains some nice ideas and occasionally, for whole moments at a time, succeeds in evoking the mysteries that it toys with. But he gave it a splat rating, 2 out of 4 stars. And finally, Destin Thompson is back.
Oh,
it's been so long.
Missed you, Destin. Where the fuck have you been?
I know. It's so weird that he chimed in for Ghost, oddly enough. But surprisingly entertaining.
A little brief, bud.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. I feel like there's probably more somewhere. That's probably the summation of his review. I hope he's
everybody's there's
paid by the word.
Paragraphs here. All these are paragraphs except for two words. Destin, come on, man. We've been missing you for a while, and we deserve better than that. But yes, so we got So we got a Ghost Hand's really good with this stuff. Ghost Hand says the greatest strength of this movie is how it manages to balance all its elements and focus in a central element, the interaction of life and afterlife. How do we feel about
sandwich, baby?
Ghost sandwich. That's right. Yeah, I mean he's right. Everything kind of gets blurred together. I mean, and that's why Sam sticks around. He's got unfinished business, right? Like classic.
When he finds out that Tony Goldwyn fucked him, he's like, it's kind of sad. It's like, I had a life. It's sad.
Oh yeah.
Kinda
Well,
powerful.
Go ahead, Eric.
Please continue. I'll follow.
Well, to me, one of the strongest things about this movie is the reactions, mostly from all of them, really. But I think Tony Goldwyn does particularly good in a lot of his reactions to when you don't know yet. Go ahead, Mike.
When he finds out the money's gone, it's it's all over his face. He can't hide it at all.
Shitting himself. It's such a joy to watch. But even even less obvious ones, because that's like super obvious, big reaction, right? But when he's trying to walk out the door with the foot locker shoebox, for instance, or when he finds out that Rita Miller is the name that she you see him you get this information and be like, oh fuck, in his head, but at the same time he's not overdoing it, but it's just enough where if you'd never seen the movie before, you may not have caught it. He does. I think he does really good, but Patrick Swayze, man, we've talked about this movie. We've talked about this trope in this show before, when we talked about Darkman, when people in movies see other versions of themselves and they're always like, oh, there's me. It's always like, why are you not fucking melting down right now? When Patrick Swayze comes back and sees himself, he's like so fucking freaked out. He's just about his eyes are popping out of his head. I'm like, yes. Yeah. Thank you. And throughout the whole movie, he's got to do that because he's hearing things, but can't really there's no point in him speaking because no one can hear him anyways. So he's responding to stuff and just his reactions throughout the whole course of the movie, just really, really strong.
Has anyone been messing with the computers? Love Tony Goldwyn in this. For me, literally 5 seconds after Patrick Swayze sees a hint of something wrong with the computers and all the files and stuff, did you notice that camera tilt, the classic, this guy's got a secret when they go to Tony Goldwyn and it's pretty obvious right off the bat that he's involved. It could have been a lot more fun if they waited until Sam found out, but I love Tony Goldwyn in this. In fact, he plays it so well that, forgive me, but I kind of feel a little sorry for him towards the end. And I definitely don't think he deserves to be dragged to hell by these Scooby-Doo demons. I think it goes a bit too far.
What
I'm ready to back up this point.
Well, decider of fates, what is it that determines what someone should go to hell for? Because I'm pretty sure that trying to murder people and or having people murdered. Now he didn't want
to be murdered. Yeah,
he didn't want Sam murdered, right? But
Willie Lopez.
But he sends Willie Lopez to murder Oda Mae. He says, get rid of her.
Yes.
So he sends him specifically to kill her. And then he's chasing Oda Mae and Molly around with a gun with he's not going to sing to him. He's going to fucking shoot him. And his actions are very he's there's $80K of my money in there. He's trying to save his own ass, but he's also this is all, he's a money launderer. He's a fucking bad guy. Go to hell.
And he's a worse guy because he presented himself as something he wasn't. So that's even double whammy for me.
Let's not forget trying to fuck Molly within days of his best friend going in the ground.
Spilling coffee. It's so great that we can have a ghost see the truth, right? Because otherwise we never would have known that.
Clearly his biggest sin was hard demolition work with no shirt. Come on, he does that.
I want to go back to what you said, though, Eric. Some of the telegraphing in this movie is quite telegraphic. And thinking about Sam when they're in bed early in the movie, and he's just they watch the plane crash on the TV. He's like, oh, man, dude, just think. It could be over in an instant. Blackout.
I never remembered that scene until last night. Why did they edit that out of the TV version? No. I never remembered that. I like it. I think that's effective in my opinion.
No, it makes it worse. It clearly is come on. We know he's going to die. It's called Ghost. Why do you have to set that up?
Oh, mortality and luck, chance.
I like
just blatant foreshadowing. We don't need it. We're smart enough to know what's going to happen. We can handle it. It's okay.
Well, for me at least, I'll say it does two things, in that it kind of helps remind the audience that this could happen to you. You think you lead a charmed life, and so does everybody else. So I liked that aspect of it. You know, he doesn't know that he's enjoying his last full night on Earth, his last night of sleep.
So do I. I agree with that.
I like that, and also I liked that scene because for the same reason that I like the pottery scene, and I like the good establishment of the love between these characters, and that scene helps build that too.
Even though he can't say I love you.
Well, that's why it's so important. That's exactly why it's so important, because he can't really say I love you. And they talk about that in the movie. He's like kind of unable to say I love you. Yeah. But they do, I think, a really good job of showing with his reactions, again, with his motions, with his hand movements, with the way they interact. This is all really good. This is really good script writing as well. They do a good job of showing that he loves her, even though he can't say it.
You don't think it was a plot device? Like, hey, let's make him not say I love you now. So when he's a ghost later, if he says ditto, she'll know that he's there. It's really him.
But if that was what was all hinged on, wouldn't that have been the end of it? And then she'd be like a full believer for the rest of the movie? Because one of the things I really like about this movie is that she has it proven to her. And then even after the fact, when she's like alone again, she's like, oh, fuck, what am I? That's crazy. I can't believe that. Because like I've had like supernaturally kind of shit happen to me. And then like later on, I'm like, no, surely no. Like that couldn't have happened. And that's because like people like it takes a lot to be like, hey, there's a ghost actively talking to you. You alone in the universe are enjoying this experience. Like you know, it makes sense for her to like reject it. So I mean, like if the whole thing was hinged around that, I think it would have been a bigger deal in the movie. But in fact, it only gets Oda Mae in the door for like a little while.
Yeah, I disagree. I don't actually disagree with what you're saying about, yeah, he does love her. And they show that. But it does seem like a bit of a plot device with the ditto thing. But there's plenty of men out there, especially in 1990, who couldn't say I love you. So it's very believable at the same time. So I'm not going to harp on it too much.
That's why I love the pottery scene so much. I mean, it's romantic as hell. I mean, it's still a very touching scene. I mean, we got some phallic symbolism there, but we also have this beautiful symbolism about these two people literally trying to create something together, and they're trying to make a life with one another. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, I can't help but think of the fucking Naked Gun scene, though. It just ruined it for me because I've seen that movie so many times. She digs into his crotch, makes an ashtray out of pottery that she pulled out of his dick zone. It's so stupid. So it's really hard for me to get that out because I've seen the Naked Gun 2.5 at least as much as I've seen this movie. So that's not the movie's fault, though, so I will not strike the movie for this. But
I mean, like that whole opening chunk, like if this comes out nowadays, I can totally see like Sam getting killed like in the first scene, like before the credits. They spend like a good 25 minutes making you really care about these characters.
I agree. I like that.
I'm with that. I don't think I have. Yeah, that's good development. You're right. It's not like, okay, boom, he's dead. Now what? You're right. It's good development. I don't have any beef with that. I don't. We got great acting. We got solid writing. We've got the technical aspects like you brought up, all the stuff he does as a ghost, which can, if you start to dig into some of that stuff once he's dead, the things he can do and can't do and when he's able to do them, you could start digging a lot of holes in that stuff, but I don't know. I mean, is that our job? I mean, that's kind of a job here. I'm going to look at that like, oh wait, all of a sudden he can make something happen. He can look at a cat's eyes when it's really most important and make a cat jump all of a sudden. I'm like, what? When was that a power?
Well, I mean, he figured that out before he made the cat jump. Like that, he already had one interaction with the cat before that. They established that. Did you?
Did I miss that?
You may have fast forwarded.
No, I didn't actually. I didn't fast forward this one at all. No,
I was watching the movie. I'm like, I wonder what part she's fast forwarding because there's a lot of like dancing and slow movements of love.
Not this time. Not this time.
No,
I haven't seen it in a long time. I love this movie when I was young. So
all right, there's two scenes of him with the cat. There's one with him interacting with the cat when it's just him and Molly before Willie shows up. So they established that there's like that he has some sort of like the cat can see him.
Oh, okay. Well, I missed it. I'll take that. I'll take the blame.
And one of the things I like about this movie, and that I've always really loved about this movie, is the lore behind it, like the rules of the ghost world. And you get the sense that there's some ghosts that like blather through the environment and they don't know what powers they have, and like maybe they could occasionally move something, but they don't know how to do it. But like luckily, he knows that like, once he actually does that, he's able to go to get off my train. What, you think I jumped? They're able to go to Chevelle, R.I.P. And
he always looked dead though, so
yeah, it's true. just one drag. They're able to get he's able to get training from him. He's also like able to watch Orlando jump into Oda Mae Brown, and he misses the bit that Orlando is like literally wiped out. He misses that, the audience.
Tisha?
But what do you do to your hair? But so like he's not just any ghost, in that he's like he's able to he learns more than like the average ghost. I think in his journey to make him kind of like an extra special power ghost. To like by the end of the movie, he's like a superhero, like kicking ass, and he's like almost unstoppable. It's fucking awesome to watch when he's fucking strutting after Willie, like chasing him into the street. That look is so satisfying.
I mean, dude, I'm crazy for Swayze, but when he's like chasing after Willie, some of those moves are way too fucking graceful. Clearly, you are a Juilliard trained ballet dancer. Come on now, these moves. But you're right, man. It's like these discoveries, like along the way to his journey of accomplishing his goal. I don't think so much I have a problem with like what he does as a ghost. I love all of it. In fact, for me, it's like when he decides to do certain stuff. Like, I mean, if I'm Sam, the second I know that I can talk through Oda Mae, I'm going to be like, okay, tell Molly that Carl is fucking trying to kill us and he's a conniving son of a bitch.
But that will ruin the penultimate scene, right? So we can't do that. So.
There it is.
Well, he doesn't know that until he doesn't have Oda Mae. Like Oda Mae abandons him for a while. Like they break their thing, so he doesn't find out that Carl has done that for a while, and that's why he goes to Oda Mae again, and is to get her to tell about Willie and Carl.
But he goes to her again because he wants to get the money, and he has to do the whole check. She has to do the whole check scam too. True. That's the second part. But we should talk about Whoopi Goldberg. We haven't really talked about it. This is a fucking great performance. She really was funny. I used to, a lot of those lines that she said, I used to say over and over again. Like,
her girl.
Yeah, she's great in this movie. Her performance definitely holds up in my opinion. So.
It's amazing to me that like this movie, for all of the comedy that's in it, it doesn't really turn into a comedy until her character shows up, and then it's just like we're like, we're really going now. It's gonna get fucking funny. There's still gonna be drama. There's still gonna be scary bits and romance, but like like here comes the comedy, and I mean, and she's so funny in this movie with the like where she doesn't even have to like. It's like she says things that like just the way she says lines that are not inherently funny are funny, but then she's still able to play scared and like, mad and all this other stuff. Is it an Academy Award winning performance? I don't know, but it's pretty good.
I don't really have it. I don't know who got nominated. We could look that up, but I have no beef with it. I just think it's such a great job when ghosts inhabit her body, and she does a good job of like kind of transitioning that experience with her eyes, and I was actually believing that because I was looking real critically like, oh, this is bullshit, no way, because I am spoiler alert, I'm not a big Whoopi Goldberg fan. I thought she was always kind of overrated just because I didn't think she was that funny, but as a talent, she's talented, I will say that, but I never thought she was hilarious.
She's got a career as like a full bullshit medium and a reader of the dead. And you got to imagine she's got a lot of clients coming to her every day where it's been established that there's actual ghosts in this universe. The ghosts probably travel along with their family members to try to contact them. She's never talked to an actual ghost until Sam comes. Come on.
There you go.
I mean, it could be that the power didn't manifest until then. Yeah, that's a bit of a plot hole. I'll grant you that.
Yes, Travis agreed to one. All right, good. We got him. We got him on board for this one because she talks about the history. Yeah, my mother had it, my grandmother had it, so all of a sudden.
But maybe it's something that comes, late in life. We don't know. It's a fucking movie. It's a movie about people talking to ghosts and being ghosts and shit. I mean, like how much.
Hey, if we did Joe Dirt critically, we're doing this critically.
I think the supernatural element demands some suspension of disbelief. Is all I'm saying. I will tell you guys this. So like the scene where Oda Mae and her sisters like running down the hallway, like banging on the doors, and that one old lady's like, "Who are you kidding?" I was her today. I was the who you kidding lady today because I was mowing my lawn and all of a sudden this guy runs up to me. He's like, "Hey, these guys over there are fucking trying to kill me right now. These guys are trying to shoot me in front of my house." And I'm like, he's like pointing down the street from me. And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, dude, I'm just trying to mow my lawn. He's like, "No, look, there's a third one. There's a third one. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me." And I'm like, "Do you want me to call the cops?" He's like, "You don't want to be a snitch on 8 Mile." I'm like, you're probably right. And he's like wanting to come inside my house. And I'm like, dude, I just like put my lawnmower away. It was like, best of luck, man. I got to get the fuck out of here. So I didn't say who you kidding and slam the door in his face, but I mean, I would have.
If it was the apartment hallway, that would have been you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, had I not been on my front yard, I would have. I mean, I wish I could have been like, I would have gladly done
How
that.
fortuitous. Wow. That is bizarre. Man.
Yeah.
Maybe there are ghosts. Maybe ghosts are real.
I don't know. Perhaps that's so.
Well, we're on the Cinema 9 pod here. We're talking about Ghost. Does it hold up or not? It's a 1990 film, and it's got a lot of quality acting performances in it. We're talking about Whoopi Goldberg here.
Yeah.
I think she's a key part of the movie, and which is obvious because she's the link to getting Sam's message to other people and stuff. But if it would have been done by someone else, or I don't know, in lesser hands of somebody who was a little more jokey about it, I think it could have ruined this movie. Like, she is funny, but she's also serious. By the time they get to the apartment for the last time with the penny thing, and by the way, you didn't have to do the penny thing, Sam. You could just, grab Demi's boobs if you want to. You could push Demi over. You have the ability to knock her. You could physically touch her now, so you didn't have to do this penny thing. I'm just saying, but that's not a big deal, but it's a little bit of a deal. But in a lesser hands of someone else, I think it could have got really jokey. But when she's in that scene, she's like, doesn't even say anything when she opens the door. When Demi opens the door to her, she's got this look. It's like not even a smile, but it's like, yep, now you get it, don't you? It's really well done.
And reportedly, he had to, Swayze campaigned for her to get that role. That Zucker didn't want her for some reason.
Oh,
and I'm hard pressed to imagine who else from that time period they would have been looking at. Who could have? Who?
They were looking at Jack Hay from that fucking show 227.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that voice?
Oh,
yeah.
That's actually not terrible.
Something like that.
But like, obviously, someone would have been like, "Well, how about the much more successful and famous and more talented actor?"
Yeah, I mean, Whoopi was like a legit star at this point. They're doing comic relief with Robin Williams, Billy Crystal. Yeah, she was in a lot of movies.
She was like on top of the world already before this movie.
But written as a person of color, which you got to give it credit to, and first time in 50 years that a black woman got a Best Supporting Actress Oscar. So, yeah, I totally support it. Is it kind of bothersome that the only you've got they're all white people, of course, and I don't know what this shady scheme is they got going on in the beginning, but it's essentially white people trying to get help from minority people in the movie with Willie Lopez and Oda Mae. So there's some of that doesn't sit that well with me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, Rick. Shout out to Rick Aviles. As Willie Lopez. He did an actual Puerto Rican stand-up comedian. Does he seem like a stand-up comedian? That's what he started off as.
Fucking scary.
I know he's scary as fuck. God rest him. He passed in shortly after this movie. But I thought he did a really good job. But yeah, I agree. But yeah, you're right. There is something going on with race in this movie that's a little not comfortable. Yeah.
Well, there's actually something legitimate though. I would argue because Whoopi Goldberg's, I believe she had an influence in this because there's a lot of commentary in her character about him being white and white people and being anti that, hey, black people deserve more credit. It is. It's so that part of it is. I believe she probably had some type of influence on the script or ad libbing in some.
And it also kind of makes sense for some white guy stock broker, whatever the fuck he is, banker, corrupt dude to be I don't know, I'll just fucking contact the closest Puerto Rican I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, why wouldn't he got the Mr. Balistrali's henchman to do it? Hey, dude, somebody fucked up and I need a henchman stat.
He didn't want Balistrali to know how bad it was, I guess, whatever his name was, the Belisarius memo, whatever it was, the Belisarius memorandum.
How about that phone call he gets about, hey, I got a portfolio thing at 6. You want to be there from some random guy? It has nothing to do with the plot, and it's in the movie. I'm like, why is this in the movie? It has nothing to do with anything. Very weird.
It just shows how that he's slipping because he thinks it's Mr. whatever the fuck.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So,
you're very perceptive. I'll give you credit.
That's another thing. When you start to look back at this call and whatever the hell this drug money laundering deal is, this ain't over. I don't know why they think this is so tied up and Sam can go back into the light. She's not safe. If this is a $4 million drug money deal gone wrong and Carl's the conduit that they know is responsible for the safe delivery of this money, this isn't over. Whoever he's talking to and whoever this boss is, they're coming back and they're going to fucking kill Molly. She's going to be joining Sam soon.
Wait, how would they be able to connect it to Molly or Oda Mae?
Well, through like I'm sure that like Carl was like screwed up and like he fucked up, and whoever he hired knows about like Sam's
He's
apartment
dead.
and the murder of this guy. Like this organization knows like where's
The
the money.
two
Like,
guys
give
in
me
the same
updates.
corporation died, and they see this money issue. I bet they'll.
It's not over.
He does die upstairs from her apartment, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, I think they'd have a hard time connecting it to Molly or Oda Mae myself, because
$4
You don't know the
million,
mob,
man.
bro. You have no
Kaiser
idea what they
Soze
can
killed
do.
entire generations for less. Molly's fucked.
he's a myth. The movie ends. I think we're supposed to just go with it and be like everything's fine. Whoever the fuck this guy was is not going to matter anymore, I guess.
Okay.
So-
Ghost 2. Did you want a Ghost 2?
Yeah.
So here's one for you. I was thinking about this while I was watching it. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to bring it up or not. Do you think it would have been better if, you know how Sam goes into Oda Mae and like we see like what you wouldn't actually see, which is Oda Mae like kind of kissing and having this tender scene with Molly. Do you think it would have been maybe a little bit better to show like the interconnectivity of all three of these characters if we actually saw Whoopi Goldberg, kiss?
I thought that since I was a
Demi?
kid, that there should be more interspersion between, like they should show kind of like Molly with both.
Why
more.
not?
Yeah. Well, I think they're probably afraid of making it look too lesbianic.
Yeah.
But, is that a word I can use? I don't know. But But
Who knows
I
what got
think-
cut out? Who
it
knows
was
what actually
1990.
happened?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? But it was
Basic
1990.
Instinct came out 2 years after this, so I don't know.
That's true. That's true. Vag shots were just around the corner.
Paul
I don't
Verhoeven's
know.
Ghost would have been a different story.
Yeah, maybe they wanted to keep it. I mean, it's supposed to be a borderline family film, which is I don't think it is, but they're trying to.
I mean, it was for everybody. It was. I think they were deliberate in their PG-13 rating, and it was. I mean, this is a movie that was loved by senior citizens down to kids. I mean, people were watching it at every age group.
Carl's death is fucking brutal for PG-13. I don't know how the hell they got away with
The
that.
thumb,
Yeah, that's so-
the webbing of the thumb running down
Yeah.
the fucking glass shard gets me every time. Every
It's
time.
ridiculous.
Ugh.
It's so ridiculous. Let's have a violent death, but no nudity ever. It's just that this country is so stupid. God damn it, Hollywood, you've got issues still. That's never going to change. But
Well, how about Willie Lopez's death with the
oh, it's terrifying. Those noises are terrifying.
Those noises
Still,
are terrifying. According
Still.
to IMDb's, trivia shit, which is for God's sake, I wish this shit was like had some sort of citation so I could like verify it. But according to that, that's babies cries like slowed down in reverse. But it is so scary. It doesn't even matter that the rotoscoping it sucks. It's like the worst part of the movie is those creatures, those demon creatures. Like when you can see their eyes and like skull faces, it looks like those things that pick up the Highlander at the end of Highlander. And it's like, this is not good. But the premise is scary, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Stuff coming out of the shadows and dragging you into the shadows, and that soundscape that they create is fucking it's scary.
Yeah,
So
it's
that whole
awful.
comeuppance of both of these villains of watching Willie get terrified in Oda Mae's apartment, then killed, and then watching Carl get terrified, and then both of them are like in a classic Disney kind of way, with like the protagonist is not directly responsible for their deaths, yet they die anyways. But whatever. So satisfying these comeuppances for me.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. That's true. But what about the first time I think I ever saw Stephen Root in a movie, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of a previous engagement, so that was cool.
Yeah.
He was doing a Stephen Root thing. It was a little more subdued than usual, but it was nice to see Stephen Root get a role in this film. Good job, Stephen. I'm proud of you.
We like you, Stephen.
Would you watch a prequel about if whether or not the Vincent Schiavelli character actually was pushed or if he committed suicide?
Yes, 100% yes. I would read fan fiction about that. His whole story has always been fascinating to me.
It's so
I want
subtle.
more. I've always wanted more of his character.
It's one of the best training montages in a movie, and it's only like 4 or 5 minutes long.
I know it is. I agree completely.
Going back to what you guys said about the film, I think it's cool what Demi Moore said. She said it's a love story, and it's a dead guy trying to save his wife, and there is a comedy part, but really it's a love story. And I thought, wow, this is really a recipe for disaster. It's either going to be really something special, really amazing, or really an absolute bust. So that's interesting to, when you talk about taking roles and how scripts will play out. You never know a lot of times, right? People are weird. We're all weird in our receptions of films, but I think there's a really good point to that because they're like you guys laid it out at the beginning of the show. This movie has a lot of different concepts coming into one, but as we'll get to the end of the show here and make our choices, we'll find out if that worked or not. But
you've got an Oscar-winning script by Detroit's own Bruce Joel Rubin, who that same year writes Jacob's Ladder, one of the best horror movies of the 20th century. Amazing.
And they went on and did My Life, which was also really good. But to get back to Demi and her little boy haircut, Demi, like, so the role of Molly supposedly was, and they were looking at Michelle Pfeiffer, they were looking at Madonna, they were looking like at every major big person at that time and trying to find out who they wanted. There was like some uncertainty about Demi, but you know what Demi did supposedly that got her the role. And as I'm watching the last thing I wrote, my last note, Demi, a good crier. She's able to somehow magically just a single tear and then a single tear. Like she does it like 3 times throughout the movie. There's nobody like coming in and doing eye drops like, and then they're cutting to it because
that's what I was wondering about. I was obsessed with that.
It's happening during the scene. And she's able to just let her eyes like well up and then spill. And supposedly that's what got her the role. I mean, obviously she's really talented. I think this is some of the best work that she's done personally. And that haircut, I love it. I can't lie. I think she looks fucking amazing in this movie.
Of course she does.
But like when she's crying and stuff, like it's hard not to get like emotional just looking at it.
In the precinct more so for me than even at the very end when she's feels so isolated and she's got no one even appreciating her ideas. Amazing. So she's petered out. Where in the hell is she?
She was in something recently.
Demi Moore?
She's still working.
It's over. It's just not fun anymore.
It's not fun anymore.
It used to be fun, but they raised their kids and stuff, and now their kids are growing up. They're probably focusing on Rumor Willis's career.
Well, I mean, she's still working. She was in that Songbird that came out recently, which I have no fucking interest whatsoever in watching a Michael Bay COVID movie.
Let me give you, real quick, from 2017 prior. Have you seen Blind?
No,
no, I'm not.
Have you seen Rough Blind. Night, Wild Oats, Forsaken, Very Good Girls, LOL?
Yeah, she's been working. I've not seen any of these fucking movies or heard of most of them. Margin Call back in 2011.
Yeah, Margin Call. She was great in that. That was 2011, though. Yeah, Mr. Brooks, 2007. So, yeah, it's been I would say the last decade was slower for her career. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, but she's also produces, doesn't she? I believe she's also produces.
Yeah, that's a whole other aspect of her life. I hope she's a power player. She should be still. She has a family full of Hollywood-type people and, the whole Ashton Kutcher thing. She's lived a lot of Hollywood lifestyles. So
doesn't produce that much anymore. She produced a miniseries called Dirty Diana, though. What starred her...
Wow.
Okay.
Get on that mic.
Demi, I miss you, Demi. I know life is tough and things get difficult, and I really hope you're having a life that you deserve still. I really do.
You're in luck. I hear she likes younger men.
Well, speaking to that point, I love Patrick Swayze so much. I mean, he's just so tender and he's genuinely fucking romantic. There's no two ways about it. But he decided to just spend more time with his family, and after Point Break and To Wong Fu, he just kind of went into the ether.
What a great year. Hosted Point Break the same year. That's a fucking great year. Those are two movies that are...
I wish we could have had a few more leading roles from him because he was such a great leading man.
Yeah, I wish that he had done right about when he stepped away from the camera, was probably when I would have been most interested in what he could have done. I would have liked to have seen him get into some weirder and different kind of roles. I think that he's a lot better actor than I gave him credit for most of my life.
Oh yeah. Especially when I was younger, I pretty much dismissed him. I was like, oh yeah, that guy's just like a pretty face, can't do shit. But when he did Donnie Darko, that was the first time I was like, oh, okay, well,
yeah.
Just because of the fact of the movie he was in, though, it wasn't even so much his role.
Right, but go back and watching this last night, I'm like, man, he's really fucking amazing in this. Throughout this whole movie, I would not have been surprised if he had been nominated as well. Like
to just stand there and observe mostly for 2 hours, it can't be easy, and to make it not just stale after a while is huge.
I just wish you imagine how many cigarettes him and Vincent Chiavelli smoked off camera, like between takes and stuff.
Come on,
seriously. That's because they both died of lung cancer. I can't ignore it.
They both died of lung cancer.
Yes, they both did. That's a fact. But yes,
Swayze had that one drag.
Swayze, yeah. Oh man, Swayze was doing the Bozo movies, and then he switched gears with this. So he really made some wise choices here after Bozo House and whatever that dumb. There's a couple other. Was he in Black Rain? Was this that time or was that later? I don't know. Dumb movies where it seems like it's action oriented.
Black Dog.
Yeah,
trucker thriller.
Yes, trucker thriller.
I kind of want to see it.
There's a Kurt Russell movie about
it really wasn't that bad.
I want to see Black Dog. Check it in. Meatloaf.
Anything else we didn't cover before we come to a conclusion on this, gentlemen?
Oh man, let me think.
I want to make sure everyone got their proper credit here.
Yeah.
Ghost, 1990.
Yeah,
Lots of good. I mean, I'll one last nod to Jerry Zucker because we haven't talked about him. You know, he did co-directed Airplane and Top Secret, or was it not Top Secret? It was
it was Top Secret.
So he mostly did comedies. This is the first time he directed something on his own, and some of his imagery is a little heavy-handed. You know, the giant like vase thing covered with a white sheet in the beginning, like just looks like a ghost in the middle of the room just waiting, or like the angel being like ascending. Like some of it's a little heavy-handed, but I think that there's some genuinely good and interesting shots throughout the movie. The way that it's framed, like when Swayze chases Avile down the street after he's shot, and like he comes back and like just like the and like when when Swayze's running down the escalator, there's like these great like forced perspective shots throughout the movie. I think he's actually like a really much better director than I ever fucking noticed. I also hadn't maybe looked as closely, but props to him for this movie. He says, and rightly so, that the screenplay is what makes this movie ultimately like this is like a really, really well done, like tight script.
But this is totally out of character for him. He did Ruthless People. He directed Ruthless People, and he directed First Night, 1995. Sean Connery, Richard Gere. Then he closed it out with Rat Race. I mean, those are just all those movies have something in common except not Ghost. Ghost is the outlier in all of his directorial.
Well, Ghost
efforts.
and First Night, like, I
watched First Night a couple weeks ago. Actually, I didn't even mention it though because it was so stupid. So.
Yeah,
it's not his fault though. Not his fault. Some good shots in that movie.
You got a gorgeous score by Maurice Jarre, and the effects, God bless the film. I mean, clearly, like every time they show Patrick Swayze and he looks like animated blob, he's about to do something.
Yeah,
but I can forgive it.
I didn't think it was that bad. Looking at it, some of it was solid. Actually, I'm like, it's solid. Like when he's swinging at people and missing in certain spots, it doesn't look fake. When it looks fake is on the train, and that's not their fault because things are dated. And there was, not bad.
When he's chasing Willie Lopez up the stairs and like trying to grab him around the legs and stuff like that actually looks decent. There's you can't. I mean, you're right. You can tell when something's about to happen.
But like you said, the keyboard strokes and all the writing on the mirror and all that stuff that looks solid. Yeah, I think. What was that? However they did it.
The way when he does the thing with the penny and the penny's floating towards Molly, that's fucking looks awesome.
2 tears. Yeah, Molly 2 tears.
I have 2 tiers, one for each.
I think we've covered Ghost in fair amount of detail. The amount of detail we usually do on the show. We don't do 3 hours, but it's time to close it out.
Let's talk about Ghost longer than Ghost, 3 times as long as Ghost is.
We could break it down minute by minute. We certainly could. Travis, you chose this movie, so why don't you lead it off?
I typically these days try and pick movies that I am unsure of whether or not I'm going to feel like they hold up. That's my approach. And am I still going to think it's a good movie? That's what holding up means to me. So I was definitely curious about this one. I really felt like it could go either way. I'm like, I thought this was a great movie once upon a time. I could see it being cheesy as fuck and just missing the mark. And I was ready for it to go either way. And you know what? I was entranced from beginning to end with this movie. I think it holds up way more than I expected it to. Like it's a significantly better movie than I thought it was going to be. I thought maybe I'd be like, yeah, it's more than just the pottery scene. It's decent. But no, I think it's a really good movie. It's a really good movie. And if it's been a long time since you've watched it, you should watch it again. I mean, it's probably, it's been out for 31 years. So it probably hasn't, you probably haven't watched it on anything but on VHS. So it's time. Check it out again. Ghost. It holds up.
Yeah, Mike. I mean, what can you say, dude? It's just so. That's why I check in every year because it's just so fun to watch. Travis, you nailed it. right in that second act, this is where movies, once like you get over like the deal and what's going on, that's where they start to lag. And in a supernatural story like this is where usually like you have to go like check in with like Father Damien so he can explain what's going on. Here we switch over to comedy and we start to have fun with the premise. Yeah. And it's a testament to this fucking fantastic script. It's a great mystery. It's hilarious. There's thrills, romance, drama. You got the fun training sequence, and it's hard to balance all these elements, but this is a great example of how you can mash up genres and get away with it. I love the performances. It's romantic as hell. Just so sweet. Great message. It's a blockbuster of the highest order. And at 31 years later, it still completely holds up, guys.
Yeah, you mentioned Network you watched, Travis, and how it had different elements of all kinds of different movies. And this movie does it. This movie's not Network. I'm not saying that, but I didn't even consider how it had all these different genres. It wasn't something on my mind. But you guys are absolutely right about that. It's a fun movie. It's fun. Demi Moore is beautiful, and I love her little boy haircut. I don't care what Deary says. And
gorgeous.
She just does a really good job of, being in pain in this movie. She's in pain, but she's hopeful, too. She does a good job of balancing that and hoping for the best, and then also facing reality. And Patrick Swayze is great now, like we said during the show. Thought he was overhyped or just a pretty boy when I was younger, but I've come to respect his career a great deal. And the fact that he died young, I'll be honest, I give him a little bit more credit. I feel bad for him. I wish we would have had like a late Twilight Swayze run of movies to see what he would have been like. He probably would have looked just as good at 70 years old. Probably. But there's no reason to be too pissed about this movie because in the end, Whoopi Goldberg is the glue. In my opinion, she's the glue that makes this jumble around work. Yeah. The rotation of the different genres, she's able to keep it together, as I think you mentioned earlier in the show. So yeah, holds up. It's good times. This is a fun movie. It's fun. You don't have to take it too seriously, and you might actually get emotional too. But
I did.
Great pick. I teared up.
We didn't get any crying pictures in the text thread. So
oh yeah. Well, they weren't photogenic tears. They were just tears.
None of our photos were photogenic, were they? Good Lord.
Never. All of us are ugly criers for the record.
Yes, most people are. They won't admit it. Except Demi Moore. She's a beautiful crier.
Oh, yeah. The three of us.
Fetching.
There it is. It's an easy sweep. Ghost 1990 holds up. Very well done. If you like the movie, you should watch it again. And if you like our show, you should give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Sub our YouTube channel. It's easy to do. Cinema 9 Pod. We're available. All of our old shows. You can argue with us by leaving comments too. We will respond to those comments. If you guys thought of something that we didn't, that's good for us because it'll help us do shows better next time. There's always things we could probably include that we forget. We're only human, even though there's 3 of us. Having said that, Eric Bransham, it's your turn to select next week's film. I turn it over to you.
Mike, I'm going into the 2000s just for you, buddy, because I know how you react about the 90s. So we're going to be talking about a film that the poster was on everybody's wall, and yet I don't hear much about it at all. I don't hear anything about it at all. Okay, you got a script from 2 powerhouse screenwriters, David McKenna, American History X, and Nick Cassavetes, Fallen. A completely capable director, and yet I don't hear anything about this anymore. It's a movie about Coke by a Coke-fueled director, Ted Demi.
Oh, boy. Because he just died? Is that why you're doing this?
Blow.
Demi died like 20 years ago.
No, George Young died last week, I think.
So Blow.
The main character. Yeah.
All right. I didn't know he died.
Blow. Penelope Cruz.
Blow. Yeah. All right.
That was a double whammy that year of Blow and Vanilla Sky for Penelope Cruz. Introduced to me, anyway.
True. So. It's true. It's a big year for her.
It was, yes.
2001? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe it was 2001. Blow, Johnny Depp when he was still king of Hollywood.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, we'll talk.
A little worried. I am a little worried.
This is a good choice. This is a good choice. I've seen this movie 1 billion times, but I don't think I've seen it in a while. So good call. Sounds like fun.
Okay.
All right.
I like cocaine. I just say that on.
You did.
Paul Rubens, remember? Come on now.
Yeah. Okay.
Bozo Paul Rubens.
I got a lot. Yeah. Bobcat, Paul Rubens, a lot of bozos in this. Fucking Ethan Suplee, tons of bozos in this movie. So yes, we're gonna get into all that next week. Join us for Blow. You can watch the movie ahead of time and then join us for the live stream anytime. Well, actually, it's quite literally Thursday evening around 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. It's not anytime, but it is available anytime once we record it. That's true.
Yeah.
I think that'll do it. Everybody.
Little dab will do you.
Oh, I hope we don't do that movie. I don't want to do that movie. I'm putting that out there now. All right, there it is. Thanks, everybody. We'll get you guys out of here and, enjoy your lives.
Sam Wee.
Sam Wee.